All right, so today we're diving into professional kitchens, specifically what it takes to be a head chef. We got some good stuff to dig into from RoleCatcher.
They've got a really great guide that breaks it all down,
Yeah, they gave us a peek at their whole platform, even some of their AI stuff.
which is really cool.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so we're talking like the real inside scoop on what it takes to earn that head chef title, to get that coveted white hat.
Exactly. And let me tell you, it's a lot more than just, being good at following recipes.
Right.
It's more like conducting an orchestra, except, well, with more knives.
Okay, I like that analogy.
Yeah.
A high-pressure orchestra. I'm hooked. So forget the whole, calmly chopping veggies while listening to the radio thing. Paint me a picture of what a typical day looks like for a head chef, if there even I ask such a thing.
Honestly, I'm not sure typical exists when you're a head chef.
Right.
I mean, you could be juggling supplier deliveries one minute and then suddenly you're trying to rescue a burnt bechamel sauce the next.
Oh, I bet.
And that's what I like about this RoleCatcher guide. They really capture that variety. Menu planning, staff training, even getting into the weeds of food costs and safety protocols.
Yeah, it sounds like a constant dance between creativity and logistics.
It really is.
You got to be crazy adaptable in that role.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what happens when a key ingredient suddenly isn't available? Or, I don't know, some new food trend pops up out of nowhere.
Exactly. Remember the cronut craze a few years back?
Oh, yeah. Everyone was going crazy for those.
That's a perfect example. A good head chef needs to be nimble. They're not just following recipes, they're anticipating needs, spotting trends, maybe even inventing the next cronut themselves.
So you're telling me this role needs more than just solid culinary skills.
Hmm.
What about the whole managing a team aspect? That's got to be a whole other beast.
Huge. And RoleCatcher actually quantifies it for us, highlighting those often overlooked soft skills.
Okay, interesting.
It's true. You're not just leading a team back there. You're inspiring them, resolving conflicts, keeping morale up.
While a million orders are firing at once.
Exactly. High pressure leadership at its finest.
Definitely. And this is where the career path outlined in this RoleCatcher guide gets super interesting.
It's a fascinating, right?
Totally. You're not just going from like line cook to head chef overnight, are you?
Not a chance. Think of it more like climbing Mount Everest. A delicious, delicious Mount Everest.
I'm intrigued. So where do you even start?
Well, you usually start as a comma chef.
Yeah.
It's the entry-level position, kind of like culinary boot camp.
Boot camp. I like it.
Right. This is where you're mastering those fundamentals, perfectly dicing veggies at lightning speed, getting a feel for the rhythm of a professional kitchen.
So you're saying even like Gordon Ramsay started out by chopping a mountain of onions.
Well, most definitely. Everyone starts somewhere. You got to build that foundation, earn your stripes before you can even think about running the brigade.
Makes sense. So what, you move up from comma chef to, what's it called again?
Chef de partie. That's where you're responsible for a specific station, like the sauté station, for example.
And the sauté station.
That's where things get HOT.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah. You're in the thick of it, juggling multiple dishes at once. It's definitely not for the faint of heart.
No kidding. Definitely a different world from like artfully arranging microgreens on a plate, huh?
Completely different. And every station, from grill to pastry, has its own unique demands, requires specialized skills. And don't even get me started on the saucier.
Sauce master. That's a whole other level of dedication, let me tell you.
Wow, okay. I'm getting a crash course in kitchen hierarchy here. So you've put in the time, mastered your station. What's the next step on this culinary Everest?
Well, before you reach the summit, you got to conquer base camp.
Which is?
The sous chef.
Ah, right, the sous chef. I always forget about that one.
It's a big one. You're basically the head chef's right hand, overseeing the whole kitchen operation.
So, still conducting the orchestra, but you're taking cues from the maestro. Exactly. Ensuring consistency across all the stations, managing inventory, you name it. It's a crash course in leadership and a true test of your skills, both culinary and organizational.
And I'm guessing this is where that continuous learning thing comes in, right?
Big time. Which RoleCatcher really stresses in their guide?
Because the food scene, I mean, it's constantly changing. What's trendy today is old news tomorrow.
Tell me about it. A good head chef needs to be adaptable, a lifelong learner, always looking for that next big thing. It's not enough to master the classics. You gotta stay ahead of the curve.
It sounds exhilarating and exhausting all at the same time.
Yeah.
So even after you've climbed the ranks, you're saying the learning never really stops.
Never. It's like feeding a sourdough starter, You always got to be nourishing your knowledge, keeping things, active and alive. And RoleCatcher even touches on this, how technology is changing things in the kitchen.
Oh, yeah. Kitchens are getting a serious tech upgrade these days.
Totally. It's not just about your sharp knives and hot stoves anymore.
Right. So what are we talking here?
We're talking like automated cooking equipment, machines that can handle those really repetitive tasks, but with incredible precision.
Wow.
Inventory management software that keeps things running smoothly. I mean, there's even AI-powered tools now that can analyze recipes.
Oh,
Yeah, they can optimize flavor profiles and all sorts of things. It's really cool to see how tech is changing the game.
It's like having a whole team of silent sous chefs working behind the scenes.
Right. Exactly. And it really frees up the head chef to focus on the bigger picture, menu design, staff development, and of course, staying ahead of those crazy culinary trends.
Speaking of, we can't forget about all the broader industry trends that are shaping, well, everything.
Right, right. Like what?
Well, I mean, the whole farm-to-table movement, the rise of plant-based eating.
Huge, both of those. Consumers are way more conscious now about where their food comes from, the impact it has on the environment.
Yeah.
And RoleCatcher really highlights that. This whole shift towards sustainability, locally sourced ingredients, it's definitely something every head chef needs to have on their radar.
It's not just about what's on the plate anymore. It's the whole story behind the ingredients, right?
100%. And that story is becoming more and more important these days. People want to know their food is ethically sourced, that it supports local farmers, that it aligns with their values.
So a head chef needs to be like a master storyteller on top of everything else.
Absolutely. And that's where that real creativity comes into play. A great head chef, they can craft a menu that's not just delicious, but it also tells a story about the ingredients, the region, the whole philosophy at the restaurant.
Wow, okay. I'm really starting to understand why this RoleCatcher guide stresses adaptability and continuous learning.
Yeah.
It's a lot to keep up with.
It definitely is, but honestly, that's part of what makes it so exciting. There's always something new to learn, a new challenge, a new flavor combination to explore. But let's be real for a sec, breaking into this industry, it's tough. Especially in such a competitive job market.
That's where RoleCatcher comes in, right?
Exactly.
It's not just about giving you information, it's about those tools to actually succeed.
Yes. And those AI-powered features they've got. Game changers.
Like what?
Okay, well, take the CV and resume builder, for example. It's like having a personal branding expert in your back pocket,
Okay.
helping you highlight all your skills and experience in a way that actually gets attention.
So you're not just sending out generic applications and hoping for the best.
No way. You're strategically showcasing what you bring to the table. Or, I guess, to the kitchen.
I like it. What else?
And then there's that job spec analysis tool.
What's that?
So imagine being able to see how well you actually match up to a job posting.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like instantly. You can tailor your application, highlight the right experience. It's all about standing out from the crowd.
It's like a secret weapon for your culinary job hunt.
Right. But even once you land the interview, those can be nerve-wracking.
Oh, tell me about it.
Even for experienced chefs.
Totally.
But RoleCatcher, they've got you covered there too. They've got this whole library of interview questions, all categorized by role, by industry.
Oh, wow.
So you can practice answering questions that are specific to the head chef position.
So you're not caught off guard when they ask about your approach to, like, menu creation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it gets even better. They have this AI-powered tool that analyzes your responses and gives you feedback. Seriously.
Seriously, it's like having a personal interview coach, helping you polish your answers and project that Michelin star confidence.
Okay, RoleCatcher's really thought of everything.
They really have. And you know what I find fascinating? They even touch on these emerging culinary fields, like molecular gastronomy.
Molecular gastronomy. I think I've heard that term before, but I'm drawing a blank.
So imagine walking into a restaurant, right?
Okay.
But instead of a traditional menu, you get this whole sensory experience.
Okay. Now you've got my attention.
That's molecular gastronomy in a nutshell.
So instead of a menu, they just start bringing you things?
Well, not exactly. I mean, there's still a menu, but it's more like a guide
Okay.
to this whole experience, right? Think like foams that disappear on your tongue, edible spheres that burst with flavor, dishes that change color before your eyes. Whoa, hold on. Color-changing dishes. That's some serious culinary wizardry.
It really is, and that's molecular gastronomy, using science and technology to transform ingredients.
So it's like, what, a chemistry set in the kitchen?
Kinda, but the end result is still delicious, I promise. RoleCatcher, mentioning it in their guide, I think it just goes to show they're really on top of things.
It's definitely not your grandma's cooking, that's for sure.
Right. It's an emerging field, for sure. Not every head chef needs to be a molecular gastronomy expert, but having that knowledge base, that willingness to experiment, it can really set you apart.
I bet. Imagine the possibilities, right? Leading a kitchen that's like a lab and an artist studio all in one.
Exactly. A playground for culinary innovation. Who knows? Maybe we'll be doing a whole deep dive into molecular gastronomy someday.
Now that's a deep dive I'd sign up for. But for now, I think we've covered a lot of ground. We've explored the ins and outs of being a head chef, and wow, what a wild ride it seems to be.
Definitely not for the faint of heart, but so rewarding for those who are up for the challenge.
And we couldn't have done it without this awesome RoleCatcher guide.
They really provided such great insights. Those AI tools they talked about too.
Game changers. I mean, we only scratched the surface of what RoleCatcher can do, but I think the biggest takeaway for me, it's clear that becoming a head chef is a journey.
100%. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It takes real passion, dedication, and a high tolerance for heat, both literally and figuratively, I'd say.
Couldn't agree more. It's about constantly pushing yourself, learning, evolving, and never losing that spark, that love for food that probably brought you to the kitchen in the first place.
Absolutely. So to everyone listening who's got that culinary dream, keep honing those skills, stay curious, and remember, you got this. With a little help from RoleCatcher, those dreams are totally within reach.